Hi, welcome to another Onwards and Upwards education video. This one is Year 8 Algebra 1.1 and it's all about the basics of algebra. So, you're studying algebra this term, are you? Well, you've got two choices. You can spend the next 10 weeks moaning, groaning and shiftily trying to copy the answers off the person beside you, or you can pay attention in class, do your homework, use videos like this one to help you understand things better, and gradually you can become awesome at algebra. It's up to you, but obviously if you've decided to go with the first option, you can probably stop watching this video now. And please remember to copy off a clever person. So, let's start with the basics then, shall we? The first thing you need to get your head around is the language of algebra. Some of the most commonly used vocabulary in your algebra unit will be pronumeral, algebraic expression, term, and coefficient. So you might already have heard things like write down the pronumeral, simplify this algebraic expression, group the like terms, or identify the coefficient. So let's start with pronumeral. A pronumeral is a letter that's used to represent a number. For example, X and Y are used often, but it's not a code. So it's not like A always equals 1 or B always equals 2. A letter can actually stand for a different number in every equation. In fact, most of the time your job is actually to figure out what the number is. So in this example, we've got 2y plus 12 equals 24. And in this equation, the pronumeral is y. So, now we know that pronumerals are the letters that stand for numbers. Great. Moving on. Next, let's define what an algebraic expression is. An algebraic expression is basically an algebra problem written out on a line. Yep, as soon as you're adding, subtracting, multiplying or dividing two or more things, in the context of algebra, you've got yourself an algebraic expression. Here's what some of them look like. 3 times x plus 4 times y, that's an algebraic expression. 7 times b plus 4, also an algebraic expression. And this one, though it looks a little bit trickier, is also an algebraic expression. 2xy minus y on 4. So, now we know that when you're doing algebra and you're adding, subtracting, multiplying or dividing two or more things, that's called an algebraic expression. Another word you're going to hear plenty of is term. And in this case, we're not just talking about all those weeks you have to spend at school in between your holidays. This time, you need to think of terms as being a bit like the individual parts of an algebraic expression. Often, one of the first steps in solving an algebraic equation is actually going to be to group the like terms. For example, you might need to group all the y's, or you might need to group all the x's. So in this example, your expression is 2y plus 12. And here you've got two terms. You've got 2y and 12. In this next example, where your expression is 2xy minus y on 4, again, you've got two terms. You've got 2xy, that's one term, and then negative y on 4, and that's your second term. So, now we know that terms are the individual parts of an algebraic expression. Nice. Moving on. Finally, before we can try out some exercises, let's have a look at what coefficient means. The coefficient in an algebraic term is the number. For example, if you have 3y, and that's your term, the coefficient there is 3. Here are some more examples. So if your term is 7b, then your coefficient is 7. If your term is negative y on 4, the coefficient here, it's a little bit trickier, it's negative 1 on 4. At this point, you might have some other questions. One of them might be, what if a letter has no number beside it, like in that last example? So it's important to remember that if a letter has no number beside it, its coefficient is 1. So in the expression 2b plus d, even though d doesn't actually have a number beside it, its coefficient is 1, because there's 1d. Another question you might have is, what about those positive and negative rules? A coefficient is either going to be positive or negative, depending on the sign that comes immediately before it. If no sign comes before it, the coefficient is positive. So in this first example down here, you've got negative 9k plus j, and your two coefficients are negative 9 and 1. In the second example up here, you've got 12b minus 3y. So the two coefficients here are 12 and negative 3. So, now we also know that the coefficient is the numerical part of an algebraic term. Good work. So, let's try a few exercises. So these exercises include the sorts of questions that you'll find right at the beginning of your textbook chapter on algebra, because these are the foundation skills that your success with algebra will rely on. If you can do these exercises, then you'll find that those basic skills will go a long way to helping you do the more complicated exercises that you're going to encounter later on in your study of algebra. First exercise. Can you pick the pronumerals? So, question A. Your expression is 4k plus 4j minus 3. And in this case, the pronumerals are k and j. Exercise B. Your expression is 2b plus 7d. So the pronumerals here are b and d. Next. 3m minus d plus 11. The pronumerals here are m and d. And finally, if your expression is 5x plus 3y, your pronumerals are x and y. Next, let's try writing an algebraic expression for these problems. So our first problem, Wendy went shopping and bought 4 apples plus 7 pears. So we can represent this if A are apples and P are pears. We've got 4A plus 7P. Next, Max rode 5 kilometres and then climbed 3 sets of stairs. So we can represent this in an algebraic expression that looks like 5k plus 3s, where k stands for the kilometres that Max rode, and s is the number of sets of stairs that he climbed. Next up, Jody had 10 cherry ripes, but gave 4 of them away. So in this case, we can represent this problem with an algebraic expression that looks like 10c minus 4c, because in both cases we're talking about cherry ripes. And finally, in problem D, Sam kicked 8 goals and then Cameron kicked another 6. So we can write this as an algebraic expression with 8g plus 6g, where g is the goals. Okay, so how many different terms are there in these algebraic expressions? In expression A, you've got negative 3n minus 5b. So here you've got 2 terms. You've got negative 3n and negative 5b. In our second expression, 6b plus 9c minus r, you've got three terms. You've got 6b, 9c, and negative r. Next up, 7 plus 3c minus 12f. So here, you've also got three terms. 7, 3c, and negative 12f. And finally, in the expression 2m plus 4 minus 2s minus 3, you've got four terms. 2m, 4, negative 2s, and negative 3. Now, can you find the coefficients in these expressions? So in A, 3w plus 4p minus d, the coefficients are 3, 4, and negative 1. In our next expression, negative 9b plus 4m, the coefficients are negative 9 and 4. In expression C, we've got 5c plus 14g, and the coefficients here are 5 and 14. And finally, 11mn minus 4k. The coefficients here are 11 and negative 4. Nice work. That's the basics of algebra all sorted. Well done, you. We certainly hope it's been helpful. And if it has, you might like to check out the next video, Year 8 Algebra 1.2. It's all about writing algebraic expressions.